greatest drama, the memorable story of the great among us, written by you, the people.
This chapter of perfect loyalty, the story of Wendell Willkie. It was 1940. Wendell Willkie, Republican candidate for president, was making his acceptance speech.
No man is so wise as to foresee what the future holds or to lay out a plan for it. No man can guarantee to maintain peace. Peace is not something that a nation can achieve by itself.
The hard, unvarnished truth. Loyalty to principle, even though it might cost him the presidency. Ever since childhood in Elwood, Indiana, that had been Wendell Willkie's way. The town was a farming community where people talked straight and demanded straight answers. It was the same at home. Both of Willkie's parents were lawyers. His mother was a strong woman. From her and from his father, he learned the importance of success and integrity. Indiana University was Willkie's alma mater, and the scene of his first crusade. He refused to join campus fraternities, feeling they were undemocratic, and led a fight to have them abolished. 1918, and another crusade. On the day the United States entered the First World War, Willkie gave up his new law practice and became a lieutenant of artillery. In 1924, Willkie was a prominent young lawyer in Akron, Ohio. Supporting Al Smith, the Democratic candidate for president, he incurred the anger of the Ku Klux Klan. The Klan was powerful. An ambitious young lawyer might well have sidestepped the issue, but Willkie was loyal to his principles. He fought the hooded bigots and helped to smash them in Ohio. 1933, Willkie was now a New Yorker, president of a huge electric power company. The tall buildings and crowded streets were a far cry from little Elwood, Indiana. But your door was always open, and behind that friendly grin was a great fighting spirit. You proved it in one of the bitter controversies of the time. Electricity produced by the new TVA dams would put the government into competition with your power company. Seeing this as a threat to the entire American system of free enterprise, you fought back. The idea was turned down. Your testimony was rejected. The court sidestepped the issue. It was sell or be destroyed. The sale took place in 1939. David Lilienthal, director of the TVA, represented the government. The TVA's original offer for your company had begun far too low. Your long fight had forced the price up $30 million. It was a victory in defeat. The fight had dramatized the encroachment of the government. Traveling about, you became the spokesman for millions who felt the government had gone too far in its attacks on business. You were mentioned as a candidate for the Republican presidential nomination in 1940. At first you scoffed, but you changed your mind. You wanted to lead a people's crusade against the New Deal. Despite the personal sacrifice, your wife was with you. You'd be an independent candidate, no truckling with politicians. But observers at the convention didn't believe you rated a chance. You had no political background, no machine, not even a floor manager. And you faced the most powerful opposition. Senator Robert Taft was there, eager for the nomination and well organized. So was Governor Dewey of New York. And Senator Vandenberg of Michigan. But on your side were the people, a force far more powerful than political machines. Their pressure could not be resisted. You won the nomination. You called all Republicans to serve in the great crusade to defeat Franklin D. Roosevelt and the New Deal. A hard struggle was ahead. Wendell Willkie had risen high, candidate for President of the United States. Franklin Roosevelt, his opponent, had great popularity and a vast, well-organized political machine. The Nazi drive for world conquest was a factor in Roosevelt's favor. The voters might well fear to change presidents at this dangerous moment in history. Confident, nevertheless, Willkie stumped the country appealing for votes. First stop, Chicago. True to his resolve to make this a people's crusade, he encouraged small contributions. He talked simply and the crowd responded to his appeal. Los Angeles. Thousands turned out to hear Willkie attack the New Deal scarcity program, the growing power of the federal government, and the evils of the third term. Pontiac, Michigan. Roosevelt territory. The crowd was hostile. Hoodlums hissed and threw eggs. Violence in a presidential election for the first time in many years. The campaign was becoming bitter. New York City and the final speech. Wendell Willkie had faced every issue honestly. Now the decision was in the hands of the voters. Defeat seemed impossible. It came as a stunning blow. Overcoming disappointment, you appealed for national unity.
We have elected Franklin Roosevelt president. He is your president. He is my president. We all owe him the respect to which that office is entitled. We give him that respect.
Duty done, you would take a well-earned rest. In peaceful surroundings, you mapped out a new course for the Republicans, the role of the loyal opposition. In this perilous time, the nation's welfare must come before the welfare of the party. Your program would be submitted in a nationwide radio speech. The speech aroused the fury of isolationists and professional politicians. The idea of bipartisanship was new, but it was consistent with your guiding principle, loyalty to the truth as you saw it. As leader of the loyal opposition, you flew to England, which was then undergoing the terrors of the German Blitz. In London, you met and admired King George. Another man of great courage, Prime Minister Winston Churchill. Arriving home, you reported to Secretary of State Cordell Hull that England would not yield. A year later, the United States was at war with the Axis. With Hull's assistance, you arranged a tour of the war fronts. In Africa, you talked with Italian prisoners of war. The Germans were driving toward the Suez Canal. Could they be stopped? General Montgomery, the Allied commander, promised they would be halted. He had the tanks and guns to do it. On across the Middle East to the Soviet Union, you were impressed with Russian strength. You wanted to meet Stalin, and the Kremlin arranged a state banquet in your honor. The Russian leader was cordial. Optimistically, you believed that the gulf between communism and democracy could be bridged by friendly contacts between Russia and the West. Next stop, China, still carrying on after 10 years of war against Japan. You reviewed Chinese troops. With General Stillwell, you discussed the difficulties of war in the Far East. In Chongqing, you encouraged Chiang and Madame Chiang to fight on. The tour resulted in your famous concept of one world. Reporting to the American people, you planted the seeds of the United Nations. 1944, another presidential election. Again, Willkie refused to make deals to get the Republican nomination. He wanted Southern support. At the same time, he denounced race discrimination. He called for increased taxes, always unpopular, so that GIs would not have to carry the burden for the rest of their lives. The showdown came in Wisconsin. Willkie stumped the state, but the Republican Party organization was against him. The people were confused. The result, disaster. He failed to win a single convention delegate and resigned from the race. Deeply discouraged, he went to his farms near Rushville, Indiana. In the calm routine of farm life, he relaxed and found an opportunity to think. He began to make plans. He would go back to New York, fight for his ideas. During that campaign summer of 1944, Wendell Willkie became the conscience of both parties, endlessly prodding the candidates to state their principles clearly. In September, a heart attack put him in a hospital. The years of political strain had left him exhausted. The doctors advised rest. Then another heart attack, and from this one, he did not recover. He was 52 when the end came. Solemnly, the people gathered outside the church where he lay, mourning him as they would have mourned the passing of a president. For Wendell Willkie had changed the thinking of the nation, made us international-minded. He had set an example of humanity and integrity in politics. But Willkie's last resting place would not be in New York. From the Indiana prairie he had come, and there in the heartland of America was where he belonged. They took him back to Rushville. In death, he was larger than life-size. To millions, he was the great defender of the American way, the great believer in one world. To his ideals, Wendell Willkie had always been loyal.
Be with us again next week at this time when the greatest drama, true film biographies of the great among us, again comes your way.